Hello friends, and welcome to the Forgotten Past. On this channel, you'll explore untold stories, lost events, ancient discoveries, and hidden secrets from across history. Let's view the video. The Battle of Little Bighorn, famously known as Custer's Last Stand, remains one of the most legendary clashes between Native American warriors and U.S. forces. To understand this tragic encounter, we must first uncover the events that paved the way to that fateful day. In the 1860s, the discovery of gold in the Black Hills of Dakota Territory fueled tensions. These lands were sacred to the Lakota Sioux but now attracted miners, settlers, and prospectors. The U.S. government's promises to native tribes began to unravel under pressure for expansion. The 1868 Treaty of Fort Laramie had guaranteed the Black Hills to the Lakota people. Yet, with gold fever spreading, that treaty was increasingly ignored. Native leaders warned U.S. officials to stay away, but greed and ambition only escalated the conflict. The U.S. military, under growing pressure from politicians and settlers, sought to subdue the native tribes resisting relocation. This set the stage for an inevitable confrontation, as warriors refused to surrender their ancestral lands without a fight. Leaders like Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse emerged as symbols of defiance. They united Sioux, Cheyenne, and Arapaho warriors into the largest native force ever assembled on the Great Plains, determined to defend their freedom and way of life. Meanwhile, General George Armstrong Custer, an ambitious Civil War veteran, was assigned to lead the 7th Cavalry into native territory. His orders were clear: locate the hostile tribes and force them back onto reservations, no matter the cost. As summer approached in 1876, Custer's forces advanced toward the Little Bighorn River. Neither they nor the native warriors realized they were racing toward one of the bloodiest and most controversial battles in American history. George Armstrong Custer was a complex figure, celebrated hero to some, reckless glory seeker to others. To understand the tragedy at Little Bighorn, we must examine the life, career, and personality of the man who led the 7th Cavalry into history. Born in Ohio in 1839, Custer showed ambition from an early age. He attended the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, where he ranked last in his class. Yet, his daring nature and charisma earned him attention during the American Civil War. Despite his academic struggles, Custer distinguished himself as a cavalry leader during the Civil War. He became known for bold charges, dramatic battlefield tactics, and a love for flamboyant uniforms. These traits shaped both his fame and his downfall. Custer's rapid rise through the military ranks fueled both admiration and resentment. Nicknamed the Boy General, he thrived on risk and ambition. However, his hunger for glory often made him underestimate enemies, a flaw that would later prove disastrous. After the war, Custer was assigned to campaigns against native tribes in the West. He viewed native resistance as an obstacle to American expansion. His aggressive methods and disregard for native cultures fueled deep mistrust among the tribes. While Custer's military record was impressive, controversies followed him. He faced a court-martial in 1867 for abandoning his post, though political connections saved his career. His ambition remained unchecked, driving him toward ever riskier assignments. By 1876, Custer's reputation as a fearless commander and relentless self-promoter was firmly established. Yet, beneath the bravado lay overconfidence. As he led his troops toward the Little Bighorn, many questioned whether his boldness would lead to victory, or catastrophe. While the U.S. government expanded westward, Native American tribes faced immense pressure to surrender their lands. Yet, some leaders refused to bow. Among them, Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse rose as symbols of defiance, determined to defend their people's freedom and heritage. Sitting Bull, a revered Lakota Sioux chief and spiritual leader, believed the land was sacred and non-negotiable. Through visions and diplomacy, he inspired unity among tribes, warning that surrendering meant the end of their traditions, families, and sacred ways of life. Crazy Horse, a legendary Lakota warrior, earned fame for his skill, bravery, and fierce resistance to U.S. expansion. Known for his humility and strategic mind, he remained committed to fighting until the last inch of native land was defended. By 1876, Lakota Sioux, Northern Cheyenne, and Arapaho tribes united against the U.S. military threat. Driven by broken treaties and violence, they formed one of the largest native alliances ever seen on the northern plains, an unprecedented show of unity and resistance. Sitting Bull's prophetic vision at the Sun Dance ceremony predicted victory over U.S. forces. His people believed this divine message foretold triumph at the coming battle, fueling confidence and determination among the warriors gathering along the Little Bighorn River. For these native nations, resistance was about more than territory, it was about survival. The buffalo, their lifeblood, were vanishing. Their way of life was under siege. To defend their homes, families, and sacred lands, they prepared to fight with everything they had. The U.S. military underestimated the scale and determination of this native alliance. As Custer's 7th Cavalry approached, thousands of native warriors, united and emboldened, awaited them. The stage was set for a showdown that would shock the world. On June 25, 1876, the vast plains near the Little Bighorn River became the stage for one of America's most shocking military defeats. George Custer, confident and determined, led his 7th Cavalry into the heart of an enormous native encampment. Custer believed he faced a manageable enemy force. Scouts warned of overwhelming native numbers, but Custer dismissed their concerns. Eager for glory, he divided his troops into 3 separate columns, a risky tactic that would ultimately seal their fate. The native encampment stretched for miles along the river. Thousands of Lakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho families were present, with warriors ready to defend their people. Custer's underestimation of their strength would soon have deadly consequences. Major Marcus Reno's detachment attacked first but was swiftly repelled by fierce native resistance. Reno's troops retreated in chaos, suffering heavy casualties. The scale of the native force became undeniable, yet Custer pressed forward with his smaller command. Crazy Horse and other skilled native leaders orchestrated a brilliant counterattack. Warriors swarmed Custer's isolated battalion from multiple directions, using superior knowledge of the terrain and overwhelming numbers to surround and crush the cavalry. Custer's final moments remain shrouded in mystery. Some accounts claim a desperate last stand on a hilltop, others suggest a chaotic rout. What is certain, none of Custer's immediate command survived. The ground was littered with fallen soldiers. When the battle ended, over 260 U.S. soldiers lay dead, including Custer himself. The native alliance had achieved a remarkable victory. Yet, they knew retaliation would follow. The Battle of Little Bighorn marked both a triumph and the beginning of darker days. The news of Custer's defeat at Little Bighorn stunned the United States. Reports described the annihilation of the 7th Cavalry and the death of the famed General Custer. Shock, anger, and disbelief rippled across the nation like a thunderclap. Initial details were scarce and conflicting. Survivors from Reno and Benteen's detachments shared grim accounts of the battle's chaos. The public struggled to comprehend how an elite cavalry force could be so completely overwhelmed by native warriors. Many Americans saw the defeat as a national humiliation. Newspapers sensationalized the story, turning Custer into a tragic hero. The public demanded revenge, calling for harsher military campaigns to crush native resistance once and for all. In native communities, emotions were mixed. The victory at Little Bighorn was celebrated as a moment of unity and resistance. But leaders like Sitting Bull understood the reprisal would be swift and brutal. The triumph could not prevent what was coming. The U.S. military response was immediate and ruthless. Reinforcements flooded the plains, relentlessly hunting down native groups. Villages were destroyed, families displaced, and traditional ways of life shattered. The native alliance began to crumble under overwhelming military pressure. Sitting Bull and his followers fled to Canada, seeking refuge. Crazy Horse continued fighting but was eventually forced to surrender. Within a few short years, most native resistance on the northern plains was crushed under the weight of U.S. expansion. Custer's last stand became both a symbol of defiance and a justification for aggressive policies. While native warriors won the battle, the war for their lands and freedom entered its final, tragic chapter, forever altering the fate of the Great Plains. The Battle of Little Bighorn quickly transformed from a military disaster into a national legend. Custer's last stand became a symbol of heroism, sacrifice, and tragedy. Yet, the truth behind the event remains clouded in myth, debate, and conflicting interpretations. Early portrayals painted Custer as a gallant martyr fighting impossible odds. Newspapers, paintings, and popular songs glorified him, shaping public memory. His widow, Libby Custer, fiercely defended his reputation, fueling the legend for generations to come. However, many historians question this romanticized version. Custer's reckless tactics, arrogance, and dismissal of warnings contributed directly to the disaster. Some argue his ambition overshadowed his duty to his men, leading them to slaughter on the Little Bighorn. The battle also sparked debates about native resistance. For some, the native victory symbolized a brave fight for survival and sovereignty. Others, especially in government circles, used it to justify harsher policies aimed at subduing native populations completely. Artifacts and battlefield studies have revealed chilling details. Bullet casings, weapons, and remains tell a story of chaos and desperation. The land remains sacred to many native tribes, a solemn reminder of both victory and the tragic consequences that followed. Hollywood and popular culture kept the legend alive. Films, books, and television often distorted facts, focusing on drama over accuracy. This shaped public understanding but left many details of the true history buried beneath fiction. Today, Little Bighorn stands as both a historic battlefield and a symbol of complex, painful history. It reminds us that beneath the myths are real people, native and soldier alike, whose stories deserve truth, not just legend, in the telling of America's past. Thanks for watching The Forgotten Past. If you enjoyed the journey, like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a hidden story or untold truth. New discoveries await. See you in the next video.